I know by now, you've probably heard me say it 1,000 times, that you're busy. You're a business owner that has too much on their plate and knows that they need to hire. And yet, adding that to your to-do list right now makes your brain melt. I know I have 4 clients going through the hiring process right now, and it is taking way longer than they expect, months even, and it's been stressful and overwhelming, especially because they have to learn how to actually be a good hirer, right? And that wasn't a skill set that they started to begin with. You can cut to the chase because my amazing sponsor, you've heard me mention them before, it's called Belay. They have virtual assistants here in the US that do bookkeeping. They have social media strategists and even web specialists that can help you like now. And you don't have to go through the whole entire crazy hiring process. Plus, the CEO, who actually went from assistant to CEO herself, has a brand new book. It's called Rise Up and Lead Well, and she's giving it away for free. All you have to do is go to Belay Solutions. That's BELAY solutions.com/million. Hopefully you know how to spell million, but it's MILLION. Go check that out so you can accomplish more and juggle less. Juggling's cool, but not in your business. Go check it out.
Potent advice and inspiration from real self-made millionaires. Welcome to The Eventual Millionaire with your host, Jamie Masters.
Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I am Jamie Masters, and today on the show, I have Don Williams. I've been waiting to interview him for a really long time. He's owned over a dozen companies. You can check him out at donwilliamsglobal.com. Plus, he has a new podcast called The Proven Entrepreneur, and one of his books is called Romancing Your Customer, which I absolutely love. Thanks so much for coming on the show today, Don.
Jamie, thank you so much for having me. I've been waiting with bated breath for this opportunity to be on your show. I'm grateful. Thank you so much.
Well, we better deliver then, right? We've both been waiting forever. Thank you.
We have lots of pressure.
No kidding. So when it comes to romance, it's funny. Everybody's like, romance is dead. But I mean, nowadays, let alone dating online, but customers are metrics nowadays. So tell me a little bit more about romancing your customer.
So great question. And thank you so much. So a couple years ago, I took 30 years worth of customer experience. Okay. For 30 years, I've worked with Fortune 500 companies on marketing and sales and customer experience. And so I see business from the metaphor of romance. And so, from first glimpse to I do is very parallel to marketing and sales. Yeah. And I do is very parallel to onboarding a client, signing the contract, ringing the cash register, taking the order. And then for those of you that are married, you know that that is a little different relationship than the dating relationship. Though guys, I'm talking to you here, pull a little bit of that romance across the line. That will serve you very well. And so customer experience is a lot like marriage. And then for your family love is the same thing as your company culture. And then the hardest person to romance, the biggest challenge is always self-love, self-care. And can I be a great leader if I don't take great care of myself? And the answer is no, you cannot. And so I just see and have forever business from that metaphor. And if you will take some of the principles from romance and apply to your business, you will see literally the magic happen. And it's not that hard. It's just not that hard. And so in my consulting practice, I tell customers, if you want to win a lot of business, all you have to do is beat your competition, and they're not that good.
Right. They're not that good.
And they're not.
I love that analogy, though. It really sort of breaks it down to the nuances, but it also sounds like a lot of work because dating and marriage can also be a lot of work. So how do you determine, especially with the time that you have, what you really pay attention to, especially first?
So great question. And here's the easiest answer. Begin to see things from the other person's point of view. So I don't care who that other person is. prospect, customer, teammate, spouse, child, friend, mate, makes no difference. When you see things from the other person's perspective, you'll begin to practice romance, because for most of us, even entrepreneurs, and I've been an entrepreneur for 35 years and am very active in the entrepreneurial community, our greatest endeavors were not an acquisition. It was not a hire. It was not a campaign. The greatest endeavors of my life, and I'm going to guess yours too, were affairs of the heart. And so when you apply that passion to your business, okay, it's almost impossible not to have huge dividends.
It's funny because I always look and see the other person's side. My kids actually get mad at me because I'm like, well, they probably think this. And they're like, Mom, again, like, listen to me sometimes, right? It's hard to visualize what other people are going through or thinking without sort of taking the time to do it. Do you have any tips on how to do that?
Yeah, number one tip, ask. They'll tell you. Yeah, they'll tell you what's important to them. Just ask. So many times, I make most of my living and have for years helping people do more business, increase sales. And one of the easiest things you can do is quit using declarative statements like you're the holder of supreme knowledge from the universe, and start asking questions. Statements tell, questions sell. And so just ask them, what's important to you? How would this have to look? How do you feel? Not what do you think? How do you feel? And you'll be on the path. It will just happen. So see things from their perspective. Our own perspectives are almost irrelevant. And that's hard because, we want to put self first. That's human nature. But that's not great leadership. That's not great selling. That's not great marketing. That's not a great team culture. Our job really should be to determine and cast that vision, get the best people on the planet to enable it, and support them, give them every tool they need to go get the job done for us.
I know as a company starts growing and growing and growing, the CEO sort of gets farther and farther away from the customer, right? And that sort of disassociation starts to happen. So what methodologies do you use, especially as somebody's growing, that the team can start asking as a templated thing or as a commonality, instead of it being like, oh crap, I forgot to do that because I haven't talked to customers in forever?
Well, that's good. And hey, I'm learning. I wish I had all the answers. I don't have all the answers, but I got to meet with Ari Weinsweg from Zingerman's last week. Okay. Kind of cult favorite business. Super, super cool guy. I've always felt like entrepreneurs were rebels. He thinks we're anarchists, and I actually like his term better. I just
cackled. Yeah. So yes, I totally get it. Yes.
Yeah. I think rebel might be a little too gentle for the average entrepreneur. But one thing he shared that hit me right between the eyes is he said either he or Paul, they own 12 businesses in Ann Arbor, Michigan, starting with the Zingerman's Deli, world famous deli. And he said either he or Paul handles new employee orientation for every class. I was like, wow. And so yesterday, in one of my businesses, we onboarded 6 people in a training class, and I stepped down 3 or 4 levels and said, hey, I'm going to run first day orientation today. And I'm embarrassed to say this. It's probably been 20 years since I did that. I know it's been 20 years. It may have been 25, but for sure it's been 20. And you know what? I learned some things that I didn't know. I refreshed some things I knew but had not thought of in 20 years. And I found a couple things that at the end of the day, when we did our postmortem with the person who normally does that job, I was like, in this and this and this, we have to do better at that. We're not doing that. We're not romancing our new employee. And if we want people to give us their very best, I need to give them my very best. And they'll reciprocate.
A million times, yes. I love that you just explained how you're like, oh, I learned something from someone else and then I just implemented it right now too. Because, we don't know everything. And there's, unfortunately or fortunately, there's always room for improvement on everything, which is kind of annoying sometimes too. How did you determine to take your focus away from what you probably already had on your plate and then shift it to this?
Well, I have a full day today because I didn't do any of my normal stuff from yesterday, but it was good, and so it was good for the new staff and good for the person who normally handles that orientation, and it was good for me. And so to kind of go back to your original question, I would say, go find out yourself. Go look at it. Go talk to them. Go see what they're actually doing, and you're going to find some things that you can probably do better. And I'm not being derogatory or critical in any manner, but you probably are going to find things you can do better. And we know it's not about perfection. It is about progress. And so I like the whole concept of the 1%, be the 1%, improve 1%, strive to be the 1%. I don't care how you look at it. It's just a good concept, be at the front of the line, be better, leaders. And we use that term a lot lately. And man, there are so many books on leadership. Good grief. But a lot of these self-acclaimed leaders have no followers. And it's like, now, can you really be? I'm pretty sure, and I've not looked it up, I should. I'm pretty sure Webster's dictionary would say something to this effect. You must have at least one follower. And if you do not, you are not a leader. And, as entrepreneurs, we're leading one way or the other, good, bad, or indifferent. There's no tie games. You cannot tread water. You're either moving the ball forward or you are slipping backwards. And so it was interesting. Like I said, I'm a 35-year entrepreneur, founded a dozen companies. Some have been wildly successful, a couple true duds. Companies were probably fine. I was a dud. I didn't get the job done. And then some in the middle. But when Ari shared, hey, we do every new employee orientation, I was like, I could do that, and probably that would have a huge impact on people that, are joining the team.
Yeah. And getting back into it. I think that's what's so tough is that this day and age, we're all talking about outsourcing and getting away and then going on vacation forever, which again, a lot of entrepreneurs need vacation, don't get me wrong. And we sort of pull ourselves away from the quote unquote, the messy work or the admin work or the stuff that you have people for. And so, having no ego and being able to sort of slide into every role, not that you have to every single time, but being able to do that and admitting to yourself that you're probably not as good as you probably could be, right? Thank you, Don, for actually admitting that on camera, right? Because it's a lot. We're not good at everything, and admitting that and trying to get better, like you said, is sort of that first step. So when it comes,
now,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, now, so I'm a big proponent of travel. Pre-COVID, in the 12 months before COVID, my wife and I were out of the country 60 days and out of town another 30. So we were home 75% of the time. My business, fortunately, my primary business, I can do anywhere. And so during normal times, I choose to do typically from a beach. And I don't like to go back. I've been to some of the best beaches in the world. I don't like to return. And somebody asked me why not. And I was like, well, when I've hit them all, I'll start over again. And so I do think as entrepreneurs, it's easy to fall into the trap of being busy. And, you can work 20 hours. If you're an entrepreneur, I assure you, your thing to do list can take 20 hours and it's be another 20 tomorrow and the next day and the next day. But as leaders, I know that we should only do our highest leverage activity and somebody should do everything else. But that doesn't mean that something is important, and it took Ari sharing it, something as important as onboarding new people. Maybe that's one of my highest leverage activities, being certain that new teammates have an exceptional experience, which that's all romancing your customers about, is delivering exceptional experiences to other people.
Well, and when we're looking at digital marketing, because there's a lot of tactics and all those, and unfortunately some of it's skeezy, where they're trying to squeeze that romance period as fast as humanly possible to get to I do. Right. So what is the length of time? Does it have to be a time thing? Is it a connection point thing? What is the actual length? Or is it a level of depth? Tell me a little bit more about how you can even get to I do, and if we should try and do it quicker or not.
Well, so great question. And my buddy Nicholas Kuzmich, who is probably the number one Facebook ads guy on this planet anyway, what's he call that? Sex with strangers. He said, now, and of course, obviously there's some shock factor in that statement, but he said, just like you would not have sex with strangers, it's probably equally unrealistic to expect people to buy big ticket items from you as strangers. And you should give into a relationship before you ask. And so, you have to test to kind of find out the right cadence. Maybe it's give, ask. Maybe it's give, ask. It's going to be different on different product, services, and experiences, but the principle remains common. Give first, ask second. And I'm a big fan of social. A couple of years ago, I wasn't even on social media. I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like the last guy in America to be on Facebook even. And the last guy to have a cell phone, and the last guy. I've been the last guy.
Now you have a podcast. You can't say that. You're before other people right now.
Well, yeah, I think there's. So what they told me the other day is Apple has at one time hosted over 2 million titles, of which about 500,000 are active. So that means 3 out of 4 didn't make it or quit for whatever reason. They're still going. And then out of that, they're new and noteworthy. Okay. I think that's less than 1%. And
you hit it, by the way. I was going to say it so you didn't have to. And you hit it, by the way. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. And a big thank you to my marketing and tech team. I absolutely have the easiest role. I just talk, and I'm a good talker. So they do all the work, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for them. But I'm a huge proponent of social media. And I do think you should, if you've not started, start. And 2, start with branding. Start with letting the world know who you are and what you stand for and what your company stands for. And you'll accidentally generate business just from that. And that'll give you some time to figure it out. And I probably also would recommend, please don't start with funding a big ad spend until you've been there a while, because you can throw away some money pretty quick in digital if you don't know what you're doing. And if you're just getting started, odds are you don't know what you're doing.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, it's funny. Yeah. When somebody told me it was like a slot machine. It's like, yeah, in slot machines, you don't win a lot, by the way. So let's not, there's so much more to learning in the space and even to the changes that happen that newer entrepreneurs just don't know. So tell me a little bit more about some strategies that they can use on social, because when you say branding, what popped up in my head is I just see people going, this is me, look at me, hey, I got me. Like, you know what I mean? And that's not, I don't know that that's what you're meaning. So can you give me the nuances of what that kind of looks like?
Well, I think a better message is, what do your customers say? So if I'm looking at you or your business as a prospective supplier or vendor for me, I expect you to say good things about yourself. Now, even when I say that, I will tell you there are many businesses that, I don't want to self-promote. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if you won't promote you, who is going to? I mean, come on, you have to. But I do expect you to say good things about you and your business. I don't necessarily expect other people to say good things about you and your business. And so if you've done a great job, start asking people, anybody who's ever said, wow, that was amazing, start asking those people to do Google reviews, LinkedIn reviews, Yelp reviews, Amazon reviews, Apple Podcast reviews, every review you can get. And because I literally want people, I'm a big believer in this concept, the concept of wow.
Tell me more.
And so on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I believe wow starts at 11 and goes to infinity. And so with my own customers, and after every meeting and every talk and every workshop, I ask customers, I'm like, so on a scale of 1 to 10, rate the meeting. I want to hear the word wow. Do I always get it? No. But I always am working to deliver that level of experience. And it's funny, there's a part of your brain called the reticular activator. And so things that it's almost like Siri and Apple. If I talk about going to Tahiti in the presence of my telephone, Apple will begin showing me, and it's Android too, so don't anybody get high and mighty on me here. They will begin showing me ads for Tahiti. And it's like an AI reticular activator. Your brain works the same way. If you talk about going to Tahiti, and more importantly, if you can project how you'll feel when you get off the plane onto the tarmac, and when you go out to that over-the-water bungalow and the water that is more clear than your swimming pool and 50 feet deep, and you can still see the bottom. And if you can see that and feel that, your brain will start working out a solution to get you to Tahiti, because your brain really doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It just knows thoughts. And so if it is your goal and you talk with your team about delivering a wow experience, which I just celebrated my 20th anniversary a couple weeks ago, and it is my goal to deliver that redhead a wow experience. And so, because it is my goal and because I talk about it and think about it, for the most part, I do. Now, I don't walk on water, and sometimes I totally drop the ball. I am a man. But for the most part, and that's the interesting thing about the romancing your customer. I have so many people who come up to me and said, that worked at home too. I'm like, it does actually. And so it's just a matter, wow is just a matter of, I want to deliver the most phenomenal experience possible. And if you set that to be your goal, you'll be successful some of the time, the majority of the time, probably not all the time, but that's kind of goes back to the reviews. If you don't have somebody who hates you, you haven't done enough marketing, because they're out there. You'll know that you're really making progress when you get to the point that somebody just scalds you on Google or Amazon or wherever.
Wait till the day, right? Well, it sounds actually
it's coming.
Well, hopefully it's coming. Hopefully everybody did more marketing, yeah. So it definitely will come. It sounds actually a lot of fun to wow your customers. And I need examples, because that's the other thing. It's like people will sit there at a blank page and go, well, I don't even know where to start to get to 11 to infinity. That's a high expectation.
Yeah. So here's a specific. So when we onboard a new consulting client, and I'm really good and really expensive, though, because I deliver so much more than I charge, it's kind of free if you look at it right. If you give me $100,000 and I give you $2 million, you probably don't care about my 100,000. Okay. But when we onboard a new client, unbeknownst to them, so romance always includes an element of mystery or surprise. If you call your wife and say, I'm bringing you flowers today, that does not have the same effect as you showing up unannounced with flowers today. If you stop on the side of the road, and we're in Texas, don't pick bluebonnets, you'll be in trouble, but you pick Indian paintbrush and you carry that home, that has a different experience than flowers from the flower shop because there was some effort involved. Okay. And because I intend to bring magic to my client's cash register, we send them a mailing tube with their own big. Now, this is not a normal magic wand. This is about a normal magic wand. This is a big magic wand. And the reason it's a big magic wand is because we only work on projects where we can deliver big magic. And so the client gets this nondescript brown cardboard mailing tube. It rattles a little bit. It makes a little noise, and there's some other stuff in there. But I almost always get a phone call or an email that says, wow, I got this magic wand that says, expect big magic. And that does two things. One, I do want to expect big magic because I can't produce it if we don't expect it. It's not going to happen. Okay. And so I want to activate that reticular activator for everybody. And what I would tell you is this: view new information with open-minded skepticism. Be open-minded enough to listen and skeptical enough to try. Maybe more than once, maybe 2 or 3 times, just in case you don't hit the ball on the first swing, And so that's a really good example of romance your customer. Here's one so anybody who's doing any lead generation, digital lead generation, so somebody's doing a form submission, okay, hitting a landing page. So here's what most clients do. They're doing some digital spend. They're getting some clicks. They're getting some people hit the landing page. They're getting some people fill out the form. They send those over to their sales department, and they sit there. Now, if we're going to think about things from another person's point of view, if I go to your website and I fill out a form, I obviously want something. I mean, I wouldn't do that if I didn't want something. So now that we are in agreement that I want something, my question to you is, when do I want it? And the typical answer is soon. I'm like, oh no, that couldn't be more wrong. I wanted it at least 1 second before I hit your landing page. That's when I wanted it. And so I did a search. I hit something that I thought was going to give me what I wanted. I filled out a couple forms or a long form or whatever, and I hit submit. And if you really want to see things from the customer's perspective, within 30 seconds of when they hit that submit button, you should be on the telephone. And I get clients all the time. They're like, well, I send them an email. And I'm like, so if I knew early on this redhead I wanted to spend a lot of time with, would I have emailed her? I mean, it was important to me. Would I have sent an email? I have 2 sons, grown now, but when they were dating, when they were in high school and college, they'd be like, well, I texted this girl. And I was like, oh, trust me, pick up the phone. And they're like, oh, you're so old. And I'm like, I may be, but trust me, pick up the phone. Okay. She wants to hear the words. And they're like, oh, Dad, they don't. And I'm like, oh yeah, they do, And so, if it's important to you to onboard new clients, respond immediately, as close as you can to that moment when they wanted something, and then move as far up the pyramid of communication as you can. So the richest form of communication is 36 inches apart, nose to nose, in the same room, facing each other, like knee to knee, okay? Because literally in that environment, our bodies we're communicating foundationally with just energy. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then every inflection, every pause, our emphasis on the syllable. Okay. And our brains are making a million decisions a second on how to say what to say and when to say it. When you can't do that face-to-face thing, you can do a video conference. So we're on Skype today. We could have been on Zoom. We could have been on FaceTime. Okay, there's a zillion different platforms out there. We don't get that palpable energy transference, but we get everything else. Okay, when you can't do that, get on the phone, do audio. Okay, if you close your eyes and you listen to my voice, I can paint pictures for you. I can emote, and you can receive emotion. And people buy emotionally. They don't buy logically. It can't be illogical, or the brain will veto. But it doesn't start there. It starts in the heart. And then all of the text communication, email, text. I had somebody the other day said, "Can I fax it?" And I was like, "No, I cannot fax it." No, I cannot. I can. I will not. We're not going back to caveman times. And so the more complex and the more valuable the conversation is, move up that pyramid. You wouldn't propose an email. Maybe you should quit trying to sell an email.
So where's the line though? Because I know that you're a sales guy, right? And you can do it in a way that doesn't even feel like sales, I'm sure. But the people that aren't so great at sales, I remember I was a Kirby vacuum cleaner salesperson a long time ago. I hated it. You could palpably feel how much I hated it, right? What about those people that don't feel like they're good at sales? Where is that line of too salesy?
So that's a great question. And man, I love you anyway, but the fact that you sold Kirby vacuum cleaners.
I sold 0, by the way, but I tried.
Even that you tried, that took real courage to go out there and knock on a door. Okay. And I think every kid in America ought to have to do that. I don't care if they're selling candy bars for their soccer team. I don't care what it is. And don't send them out there by themselves, people. Yes. It's not 1960 in Mayberry anymore.
My dad gave me mace. Yep, totally.
Yeah, but I still think they ought to go knock on a door, put a Colgate smile on their face, take one step back from the door where they're not crowding the door, let the person come to the door and say, "Hi, my name is Don Williams, and I am whatever you're doing." Okay. And guess what? You'll sell some stuff. Okay. I mean, it'll happen. So the question was, how do we keep from being too salesy? So I will say this, depending on your personality and depending on your profile, there's no born salespeople. Okay. But there are people that are born with maybe a little more proclivity to being a good salesperson. So for me, I actually, on all of the personality profiles, I'm a very strong introvert. And when I tell people that, they're like, "Oh no." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with how outgoing you are. It has to do with how you recharge your batteries." I recharge my batteries alone, not with people. I can do the gregarious what I think charming bit, better than most extroverts, but it's not really my natural space. My natural space is alone in the forest, and I'm good there. Okay. But, so you can do it. Here's what I'll tell you about people that think they're being too salesy. Number one, they turn the dial too far back. It's like, you're not only not too salesy, it's like, can you spell sales? I mean, you are so concerned with the other person that you're talking them out of it, and you're never asking them to buy. So, go back to the romance metaphor. The young girl out on the date with the young man, first date, in her mind, without a doubt, is he going to try and kiss me? I'm just saying, okay? In his mind, am I going to try and kiss her? You want to be the kind of salesperson where your date doesn't wonder.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
yes. Tell everybody that because it's ridiculous.
At some
Yes.
point, you have to kiss the girl or let her go. Well, in selling, it's better to kiss too early than too late. Or try. And if it's no, it's no. No is not going to be fatal. Okay. You're going to hear a lot of no's. Think about it like a baseball player. A Hall of Fame baseball player hits 300, so they get 30 hits out of 100 at bats. And they'll be in the Hall of Fame. And that person will make $20 million a year. Now, to be a professional baseball player, you have to hit 250. So 25 hits out of 100 at bats. And you'll be in the pros. If you can hit 250, you will be a professional baseball player. Because it's not easy. Now, it won't pay $20 million a year. It'll pay $2 million. But you'll play baseball. It's the same thing in sales. Swing the bat, take a shot. And if you're not good at it, get help. Get a coach. Okay? It's just not that hard. And here's another good place to start. Quit looking at it as selling and look at it as helping. And if what you represent, the product, service, or experience that you represent doesn't help people, find something else. You're selling the wrong thing.
Different problem. Yeah. Very different problem.
Yeah. So in my sales consulting practice, I know that I'm going to deliver a multiple of what I charge. And so I'm fearless. I'm like, just write the check. Don't even make me tell you the whole story. Just write the check because it will be free. And I've done it long enough. And, I offer 100% satisfaction guarantee. If it doesn't work, I'll give your money back because I don't want to take money from people where what I do doesn't work.
I love this. And I could talk to you forever. And I know we have to start wrapping up soon. So I'm going to ask my last question. And it's, what's one action? Because I know we went over a whole bunch of different things. One action that listeners can take this week to help move them forward towards their goal.
So let's talk about romancing your customer. One action that will help you, and this will be simple, and I prescribe this to paying clients, and I'm literally shocked at the percentage of people who have not done it before. But go get this modern space-age technology human relations book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie wrote this book, I don't know, maybe not 100 years ago, but close, 90. And it is basically Human Relations 101. And if you want to be a better salesperson and a better leader and a better teammate, product knowledge is really important. But people knowledge is invaluable. And so think about Steve Jobs. Steve was not a tech. Wozniak was a tech. Brilliant tech, world-class tech. One of the greatest minds in tech history. Jobs knew people. Now, he wasn't always nice, but it suited what he was doing. He knew people, and he knew how to get people to make great strides. So something really simple. The book is, I don't even know, on Amazon. Is it going to be $10? I doubt it. It's an old book. But if you haven't read it, and even if you haven't read it in a long time, it's a quick, easy read. But it's full of stuff that will make you money, and you'll have more fun.
And having more fun. So important. Go pick up that book and then get his book afterwards, by the way, because I love that you recommended a book that is timeless and has the longevity that can go on forever. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Where do we find out more about you and what you do in your dozens of companies that you have?
So thank you for asking. And here's probably the simplest way. I'm at donwilliamsglobal.com. I'm at provenentrepreneursshow.com. And from there, you can find everything about Don.
I love it. And you've got an amazing radio voice also. And so make sure everybody go check out the podcast. Thanks so much for coming on the show today, Don. I appreciate it.
Jamie, thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for listening and investing in yourself with your time. I so appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would be forever grateful if you would be willing to leave a rating or review in whatever app you use for your podcast. I know that's what really bumps it up in the rankings. And I would so appreciate your time, especially if you've been a long time listener. But of course, if you like this episode and you're brand new, thank you for being here too. Have an amazing, amazing day.